Okay, our first order of business is to swear in 2 new trustees. Then we'll conduct business. So Hans, will you do that for us?
You want to do the pledge first? You want to do the pledge first?
No, it's on later on.
All right.
Thank you, Chairman. Okay, we'll be swearing in our 2 new elected trustees, Diane Woodward and Mike Clemens. Can you 2 please stand and raise your right hand? And can you state your name?
Diane Woodward.
Mike Clemens.
Okay, thank you. Just repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support, protect, and defend
that I will support, protect, and defend
the Constitution and government of the United States
the Constitution and the government of the United States
and of the state of Florida,
and of the state of Florida.
that I am duly qualified to hold office
I am duly qualified to hold office
under the Constitution and of the state,
under the Constitution of the state,
and that I will well and faithfully perform the duties
and that I will well and faithfully perform the duties
of trustee of Lake Asbury Municipal Services Benefit District,
of trustee of Lake Asbury Municipal Business District,
on which I am now about to enter.
on now and about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you all. Congratulations.
Okay, congratulations. Now we can have a roll call. Chairman, me, Vice Chairman, Matt. We don't have a treasurer now. I'm gonna put a plug in about 3 times before this meeting's over though, because January is coming up and we will have election of officers. That's the chairman, the vice chairman, and the treasurer. So anybody on this board that has a little bit of desire or a burning desire or anywhere in between, we're gonna need a treasurer. And Tom Hallquist has graciously volunteered to keep up with the information for us, but technically he cannot be a treasurer for this board. He does a lot of the work, and so my point is that the treasurer's job is not exactly like we've been doing it in the past. It's a lot simpler than that. So, you know, any person on the board can do pretty much as they want to, but to do the scope of the job of treasurer, it's not that complicated. Okay, so we don't have a treasurer. We've got Janet, Carol, Larry, Tom Lee, Jerry Scally, Diane Pottavant. Does that sound sort of right or not?
Yes.
Okay, and Mike Clemens. Okay, and then we've got Tom Hallquist. I was already talking about him. We've got District Attorney Hans Wall, who did the swearing in. Appreciate you doing that. So we've got everybody now, and you know what? It's the first time that we've had a 9-person board, and I'm not sure how long, but it's been quite a while. So that's a good situation to be in. Okay, and then we've got Shirley Phillips, District Secretary. You're sitting right next to me. You thought I was going to forget you, but I didn't.
No, you'll never forget me.
No, I'll never forget you, that's right. Okay, well, let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. Before we get into the administrative announcements, I think it's appropriate to make one comment, and that's Diane won seat 4, which was that defeated Carl Coker in election. That's the way elections work. But I still think that we should acknowledge that Carl did a job for us, a good job. We paid him tremendous amounts of money to do it. Anyway, Carl did a lot of beyond and above on a lot of things. Sometimes that might have got him in a little bit of trouble, but we'll keep that within us. It's not recorded much anyway, so. But anyway, we do owe Carl our thanks for what all he did. So the administrative announcements, we do this every time. If you wish to speak or ask a question, fill out the form on the reception table and place it in the question or comment basket at the head table. We don't have it at the head table, do we? Yeah, there it is. Okay, the chair will address questions or comments after the agenda is complete, normally in the new business section, time permitting. Meetings normally last approximately 2 hours. Wait until the chairman recognizes you before you talk. Limit your comment or question to 3 minutes unless the chair specifically extends your time. Where 2 or more represent or share common interest, only one will be delegated to speak for a total of 5 minutes. For a good cause, the chairman may extend the time limit. Speakers are not allowed to assign his or her time or any part of their time to another speaker. A member of the public speaking on any matter shall confine him or herself to the question or matter before the board, shall not use unbecoming, abusive, or unparliamentary language, and shall avoid commenting on personalities or character of any board member, former board trustees, other officials, staff, or the public. The board reserves the right to have the Clay County Sheriff's Department remove an individual or individuals who fail to meet this request. Address your question and comments only to the chairman and not to a specific trustee or individual in the meeting. Trustees can only respond to an individual if the chairman requests. A person who decides to appeal any decision made by the board with respect to any matter considered at the meeting is advised that this same person will need a record of the proceedings, and that accordingly the person may need to ensure that a verbatim record of the proceedings is made, including the testimony and evidence upon which the appeal is to be based. The district attorney, district accountant, engineer advisory group may be requested by the chairman to speak at any time for advice, suggestions, or information. Board meetings are audio recorded and posted on the board website, www.lamsbd.com. I assume the recording is coming off of these things now?
Right now, we've got both going,
Okay.
so one of them will be posted.
Okay, very good. Now, let's see, who was that? Questions can be submitted in advance by email to the district.secretary@lamsbd.com. To the trustees, all trustees, including board officers, must vote. Trustee with a conflict of interest regarding business before the board must declare that conflict with the chair before the vote. District attorney may be consulted on this issue. If a trustee needs to leave early, the trustee needs to advise the chair. An important issue may need to be moved up for discussion earlier for approval and vote. Okay. The first order of business is the approval of last month's meetings. Any questions or comments, proposed corrections, changes to last month's meetings? None? Motion to accept? Okay. Motion by Janet, second by Carol. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, carried. The treasurer's report, we've got Tom Hallquist's name on there, but technically that's what he prepares the report. So this is still some more plugging Tom on our need for a treasurer coming up in January. So Tom prepares the report, and he will continue to do that. So the person that's the treasurer reports, makes the report, but it's already put together and that sort of thing. The other thing that they do is they make sure that numbers add up. There's going to be checks like we always have that need to be signed. So they'll get approval to sign those checks and all of that. And that's a lot of, that's the majority of what the treasurer's function is. You know, obviously, they participate in any other business that goes on with the board and that sort of thing. But simply put, that's what the function of the treasurer is. And we're gonna need one in January. I think there's ways you can try to encourage people, somebody to do it, or the board can vote them in. No, I don't think the board can vote them in, but it's worth a try. Okay, let me go through the treasurer's financial report. This is December 5th, 2022. Prior month transfer from public funds money market was $80,000. And we figured out last month that nobody other than Carl could transfer money. So it took a few days to get that squared away where I can transfer money. And transferred money last month, so we paid a few people maybe a little bit late. It made it a lot more inconvenient to get the payroll paid. But we still have one issue that I guess we can wait till we have a treasurer in January. But we only have 2 people that we're required to have 2 people sign checks. We have 2 people left that can sign checks. We used to have 3, so we need to establish another person to sign checks. The prior month's checks was $78,370.66. The balance in the checking account was November 1st was $46,22.58, and then after transferring some money and paying the checks, the balance at the end of November was $62,51.92. Now we're into November. Current month transfer from public funds money market, $15,000 is what we had to transfer this month to cover the bills that are coming up shortly, which the current checks are Shirley Phillips, $1,088.47, Cobb and Gonzalez, that's their attorney, $2,000, Hanson Professional Services, $8,240.68, Lee's Valve and Pump Repair, $4,500, Tom Hawquist, CPA, $370, and then an electronic spun transfer, Clay Electric, for $48. So the total of those is $16,247.15. So if you took the beginning balance and the transfers minus the checks, we come out with a checking account balance of $5,004.77. Okay. If we look on down to the money market checking account, we had beginning of November $512,790.42. We had deposits of $170,639.17. We transferred the $80,000 that I've already mentioned out to pay the bills out into the normal checking account. And prior month's interest was $533.56. So the balance at the end of November was $603,963.15. So current month transfer, $15,000. Current money market balance, $588,963.15. So the current total funds is taking that 588 plus the 5,004, gets us 593,967.92. Okay. Any questions?
Move to approve checks 3817, 18, 13, 16, 15, and to approve the treasurer's report.
Okay. So we've got really 2 motions in one, but that's okay, I guess. Any comments, questions, discussion? Nope. Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. So Matt and I will sign these checks here. Staff reports, Tom, any other comments you wanna make? I mean, you can add,
Just to, all of the information that's required by the auditor from the accounting side has been given to the auditor as well as the secretarial stuff. There will be questions on engineering, but that will be coming later. And secondly, if anybody had any questions about what the treasurer's job requires as far as I'm concerned, I'll be here after the meeting and can ask questions.
okay, thank you very much. All right, Hans,
Thank you, Chairman. I do have a report. First, I just want to say, because you mentioned there not being a current treasurer, we'll be having the election of officers at the January meeting. It'll be done amongst the trustees, and I'll facilitate that. And also, I wanted to give an update on the seat 6 by trustee Wantage. I know there was questions at the last meeting as far as how that is going to be handled, and I mentioned that there was that 2010 Attorney General opinion where we had the same issue 10 years ago, or 12 years ago, I guess, about when there's no candidates for election, but the seat still has a current trustee. I haven't heard anything different from Clay County or from the Attorney General's office, so what that means is apparently the 2010 opinion still stands. Haven't heard anything otherwise, so what that means is if there's a trustee in a seat, and that seat's up for election, but there's no candidates, then that prior trustee, who was trustee Wantage, remains in that seat until either the next election or until she resigns. When she does resign, then she stays in the next election. So I just want to give an update on that. And then I have on the agenda an update on the assessment question. So at last month's meeting, there were two of the same question. One was submitted in writing, and then another from Ms. Bennett, who stood up with it and asked her question. They were both the same. It was that their parcels are being charged that the assessment that was greater than the amount as far as one per lot. And what I said at the time, because I didn't have the property records in front of me, what I said at the time is my initial thought was it's because the boundaries of those parcels contain more than one lot or a fractional amount of a lot. My recollection from going through the assessment rolls, I mean, I know there was 440 some odd lots, but just when verifying and scrolling through them, I did notice there were a lot of parcels that did have fractional amounts or more than one assessment per parcel. And I have confirmed that. Here's what both the 85 ordinance and the 1986 charter for the district say, that in order, and I'm quoting, I'm reading from it, in order to fund the activities of the district, there is assessed for each year of its operation against every lot in the district, a special assessment. And so each year, whatever that assessment amount is, gets charged per lot. And so if you own a parcel, if within the boundaries of your parcel, there's more than one lot or a fractional amount of a lot, then you're going to pay that amount proportionate to what it is you own. And I do have the property records here. So one of the properties in question contains two lots. Lot 66 and 67, and then the other property in question contains one full lot and then a partial amount of another lot. That's full lot 5 and a partial amount of lot 4. And so that's why when the assessments get charged each year, you may not be paying what you think is the equal amount because your parcel contains more than one lot. Yes.
I've done a really good, thorough review of that for my auditing purposes. If you'd like, I'd be happy to work with your team or share so we can compare and make sure that we both identified this appropriately if you need my help.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. All I can say is from my position, the rule comes from Clay County.
I use the Clay County rule.
Yeah, so the only way I can change or request a change to that is if I can identify an error in the lots. And for the two parcels that were mentioned at the last meeting with those questions, I didn't notice that there wasn't any error in the property record. So that's the answer to that question. I just want to follow up this meeting. I appreciate that. Maybe.
I have a spreadsheet, I can send it to you.
Okay, all right, thank you. That's all I have, Chairman.
Okay. I will echo what Hans said and remind everybody that the first order of business at our next meeting, which is in January, first Monday in January. I guess it's the second Monday technically. Yeah, it is the second Monday in January, will be election of officers. That's by the board. And so somebody would have to be nominated for the chairman. And then multiple people. I mean, we can have, in theory, we can have 9 people running for the chairman. I don't think that'll happen, but then we have the vice chairman, nominations for that. Then we have nominations for the treasurer. So the first order of business in January will be election of officers. Okay. Now I think we're down to Hanson update. We got a response from Hanson on phase 1B. If you remember the last meeting, we talked about, we had a report from Hanson that was done in October. It was this book, this thick. All right, that is phase 1A. However, there still is some carryover things in section 1A. Primarily, it's the grant funding opportunities and that sort of thing, because that's still an open issue, and it could be open for some period of time. Yeah.
Do you want to show anything?
Yeah, this is, but what I was trying to do is get head into it. So this was, if you remember, there was a contract for the first phase, 1A. I don't remember exactly where it's at in this book, but it's in this book. I should have stuck a tape on it or something, but I didn't. So I guess when all else fails, look at the appendix and see if we can find it there.
Scope of work, appendix A.
Appendix A. Let's say I don't see where you picked that up at, but that's okay. Where's appendix A gonna be then? This is probably it right here.
Participating group?
No. All I'm looking for is the original agreement, appendix attachment B, so let's see if this is probably, all right, this was document, professional services agreement, PSA, LEG L 0200, and we signed that on 6/7 of 2022. That was $117,000, and that was where there were 4 basic tasks.
3 of 7. That was the treasurer's question. Go ahead.
Page number?
We're trying to find it on the screen so we can follow along and show the audience.
Well, all I'm doing is setting the stage for how we got to where we're at. The main thing for discussion tonight is what was phase, because this book completed most of the phase 1A, all right? So if you want to look, Tom, in our emails, what we just got Saturday actually, was it Friday or Saturday of this week, Hanson has had trouble finding different people to do these functions in this next phase. So I didn't get information until Friday. I got it Friday afternoon, but I didn't read it until Saturday morning. So Saturday morning is Yeah, but I don't want that one. I want the email that originated that.
Well, there were 3 documents in the email.
There were 3 attachments.
Each
And then there was,
wants the email itself. is
Yeah,
what
the
he's saying.
email itself, we'll start with that, and then we'll just go to the first
That
attachment.
might take me a minute to go find it.
All right. Da-da-da-da-da. I'll see if I can, put things on a thumb drive next time and have a better way of keeping up with this stuff.
Are you just looking to read the email? Oh, I mean, you've got it. Do you want
I've
to just
got
read it?
Yeah, just, Tom, if you got the rest of it, just pull up the amendment, LEG, the attachment, LEG, L0210, that PDF. Yeah, let me just read what we've got. What we did was they went through the phase 1 and they looked at, the previous information we had, all the information from other engineers and anybody that ever done any studies and that sort of thing. We had the people working with grants that was identified that would be another topic for them to do, is work on grants. They would come out and do a site visit and look at all the dams. They did that, and they would meet with St. John Water Management District and talk about what criteria these facilities would have to be improved to. And that's a major deal, and that's one of the major things that's still going on. Technically, the St. John Water Management District has one criteria, and that's full PMF. That's what they call it, probable precipitation maximum or something like that. And it's, what it amounts to, it's 39 inches of rain within a 24-hour period. We currently have dams that were built at 11 inches for 24 hours. So that's why it's significant. If you said build new dams and all that stuff, or build a new dam, you would go to the 39 inches. That's all they would permit. They don't have anything between where we're at and the full PMF, the 39 inches. So what we've got to do is we take the information that Hanson has already found, but then they have to do some more in 3 different categories. 1 is surveying, 2 is a geotechnical, some more geotechnical work, and the 3rd one is what they call it, incremental analysis, and that arrives at how much flow is going where if you have dam failures and stuff like that. And then they'll have to work with St. John Water Management District to try to arrive at what criteria is going to be used for improvements to our existing dams. So that gets us to where we're at today. But in the email, there's a few things I wanted to point out because I think it gives me a good impression, and I think it'll give you a good impression too of Hanson Professional Engineers. Let me just read to you what he says. He said, attached, please find our phase 1B scope of services to capture additional field data, perform incremental analysis, gain St. John Water Management District and FDEP design concept acceptance, evaluate alternatives and produce concept level design plans with updated estimate of construction cost. The grant funding as defined and started in phase 1A will continue through this phase. No additional budget requested. We expect that upon completion of this phase, we'll have regulatory design concurrence, no permit yet, but regulatory design concurrence, and a substantial rehabilitation concept defined to move forward into the next phase, which is development of construction design plans. We also expect some positive development in funding assistance to satisfy local funding concerns. That's the grant business. So he says, I've identified the proposed fees for survey. The surveying part is $30,766. The geotechnical is $12,400. Then there's some, so that's a total of $43,166. For project engineering, that's this incremental analysis and that sort of thing, is $98,994. And he goes on to say that for my information, I was pleased with both of the subcontractor fees. We spoke with 3 different geotech firms. Our initial geotech fee was over $70,000. So we obtained more than a $60,000 cost savings from that. I also expected the survey to be about 25% higher. So they used a different surveyor, which made sense. They used a different geotechnical group than what they had originally thought they would use. The other problem and another thing that forced them to look at more people, though, is that some of the people they talk to don't have availability to do any work until way on after. These people can do work in January. So that was his email to me. What Tom's got up there is this is that shows like the $117,724. That's the cost of services in the original agreement. There's still some money that hasn't been paid, like I said, for grant funding help. And then this phase 1B is $142,160. So that brings total cost of services from Hanson to $259,884. So the client and Hanson hereby agree to and accept the terms as stated herein. So that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about these additional things, and then we're going to decide, are we going to move forward or not. To go into that a little further, if you go to the next page, Tom. Let's see. All right. So this is an attachment A1, scope of services. And this is the project understanding. It says previous efforts were performed to gain an understanding of current historical dam conditions at the North Lake Ashbury, South Lake Ashbury, and Lake Ryan dams. Phase 1 engineering investigation report, which was this big report that I talked about a while ago, was provided to Lamsta in October of 2022 to summarize these efforts and define additional steps required for the project. This amendment will address the following recommendations as stated in that report. And if you went back, and that report is on our website. Some of you people and most people here on the board have copies of that. But it's on the website. This letter that is up here right now is not on the website yet because there's no need in putting it on there until we decide what we're going to do. I gave it to the board and I gave it to the advisory group Saturday. So I hope you've had a time to read it because we need to be moving forward on things. So this was, the amendment will address the following recommendations as stated in the report. Move forward with funding recommendations. Move forward with collection of additional survey and geotechnical data. Establish right-of-way and property ownership of all dam embankments and associated features. So that's even light poles and trees and stuff like that will wind up having to be dealt with. Develop a recommendation for a less conservative Black Creek boundary condition. Complete an incremental analysis and finalize the spillway design and flood requirement. Gain concurrence from St. John River Water Management District and FDEP. That is a very key one right there. Okay. So then finalize H&H modeling and sizing of primary and emergency overflow structures. Develop a prioritized plan and cost estimates for dam safety modifications. Then we get into scope of services, field surveys, incremental analysis, and conceptual design. Grant funding opportunities and pursuits remain an ongoing effort as defined and funded in the original contract. And Janet will update us on some of the grant information later on. The Hanson team will continue progressing these efforts within the new project phase. And then here are the field data gaps under survey. Yeah, okay. That's the right-of-way, utilities, topographical improvements, FFEs, not sure what that is, trees, SUE. Hanson is subcontracted with Southeastern Surveying and Mapping to perform the surveying services. SSMC is previously provided extensive surveys of the dams and lakes to FDEP in support of the 2021 Emergency Action Plan. So they're best suited to incorporate additional survey seamlessly into the prior mapping, filling data gaps identified for engineering design. And then we go into the next one, which is fill the data gaps in geotechnical, resistivity testing. Hanson is subcontracted with GeoView to perform the geophysical testing services. That's who they're proposing we do this with. Resistivity testing will be performed to better identify subsurface seepage and suspect coil conditions in a non-intrusive manner for each of the 3 dams. And then Hanson managed subcontractors, access field data, coordinate, incorporate data into models, plans, quality assurance. Hanson will be responsible for the subcontractor management and invoicing. Coordination will be required prior, during, and following field data collection. Hanson will evaluate the field data, interpretation of results to be incorporated as appropriate within models and design plans. And then item 3 is perform incremental H&H analysis, coordinate with St. John River Water Management District and FDEP, and they'll have QA and QC involvement. Bergman is the one that's doing most of the incremental analysis. During prior project coordination with St. John River Water Management District, it was determined that the best approach for sizing reasonable hydraulic capacity, less than the PMF that I mentioned before, that's the 38, 39 inches, would be accomplished through incremental analysis. Our approach to satisfy this requirement includes, and then they've got a whole list of things there with the bullet points about preparation of a letter to St. John River Water Management District, FDEP, with a proposed H&H analysis approach for the spillway design flood. 24-hour, 1/2 PMF, so half of that'd be 19 inches. Non-breach and breach scenarios based on the St. John River Water Management District PMP over the entire watershed draining into the North Dam, with cascading failures of the South and Lake Ryan dams. Rainfall would be distributed per the Florida Modified SCS Type 2 distribution per St. John Water Management District Permit Information Manual. Black Creek tailwater conditions that approximate the FEMA, the FEMA effective FIS 10-year event or 25-year event as the coincidental flow for Lake Ashbury STF. Modeling over the reach in Black Creek that we establish the limits for. Also refer to NCHRP. If you want to ask me what those are, I'm not sure. And PEN, Pennsylvania DOT method. So they're looking at other methods that people have used to try to determine what we should be asking St. John Water Management District to approve. Basically is what all that means. Black Creek modeling limits to properly account for the impacts of a dam breach from the North Dam. Modeling limits would extend upstream and downstream from the point of entry into Black Creek until the 1/2 PMF non-breach and breach WSE results show less than a 1 foot difference. All right. Incremental analysis beginning with the 1/2 PMF event, which is approximately a 2,000 year event, and lowering it If the analysis indicated is appropriate per FERC, depth velocity curves to a value of no less than 1/3 PMF, all right? So they're saying they'll start with the half PMF and they'll go down to as far as 1/3 PMF using these calculations to determine when things cross. So then they'd review and recommend breaching parameters for both the overtopping with roadway, north and south, and without a roadway, like Ryan is appropriate. Assuming a piping failure for SDF breaches that do not overtop the embankment. Adjustment of the HMS model to account for, after consulting with the county commissioner, the effects of any highly likely or approved developments that are anticipated to add increased runoff to the lake complex. Well, all the darn building and all that's going on around here. We'll contact the county commissioner during phase 1B, determine location, footprints, drainage requirements, and probability of approval to determine the likelihood of the projects and their potential effects on the runoff into Lake Ashbury complex. The starting WSE, which I think is watershed, water surface elevation. Nobody can challenge me on that, I guess. So it's water surface elevation of all dams is recommended to be set at the emergency spillway crest level elevation or normal pool level for Lake Ryan. For the North Dam, the emergency spillway crest elevation, 25.1 foot, is approximately 0.7 feet above the normal pool elevation of 24.4. Is the right number, Tim? It is, isn't it? 24.4?
That's the right number, but it's, I guess it's 0.7 feet because it's right at 9 inches.
Yeah, okay. For the South Dam, the emergency spillway crest elevation, 44.8, is approximately 0.4 feet above the normal pool elevation. Principal spillways at both dams are prone to plugging by debris and aquatic vegetation. I had a discussion with Brian today. I said, I'm not sure that's an accurate statement, but he noted it. Therefore, using a starting WSE above the normal pool level assumes that some debris vegetation accumulates prior to the SDF, perhaps as a result of the antecedent storm. 1D, 2D modeling is appropriate to obtain maximum WSE from with depths above or below first flood elevations, and velocities will be obtained for use in the depth velocity relationships for flooded structures. Draft materials, models for regulatory comment meetings, 1 to 2, comment response, and then finalize memo and models. Okay. Then they go into perform the alternative sizing, H&H analysis in support of the design concept. So once the optimal design capacity is established and accepted by St. John River Water Management District, then the proposed alternative hydraulic structures, which means drawdowns and spillways, that sort of thing, will be modeled and evaluated. Recommended structure sizes will be defined in support of developing concept level design plans, sketches, not detailed engineering. Then they develop the conceptual design sketches and updated OPCC. Develop concept level designs of additional or replacement spillway capacity improvements for the North Dam, South Dam, and Lake Ryan Dam based on the results of the agency approved incremental analysis. Should the analysis indicate that the 1988 law engineering spillways could be downsized? All right. Provide concept level sketches depicting the conceptual designs of the downsized spillways. Develop CAD drawings of the conceptual design for quantity takeoff and presentation. Adjust the current project cost estimate developed in September 2022 for the changes in spillway size from which was previously assumed in the 1988 law engineering study based on spillway size determined from the incremental analysis. So, and then project management coordination meeting with LAMSTA. They predict to have 1 in person and 2 virtual. Still talking about funding, support, and project management, and LAMSTA coordination will continue throughout this phase of the project. It's expected that up to 2 virtual and 1 in-person meeting will take place with the board. Quality assurance, quality control, they're just saying there that they check everything and have a quality control system. And then the schedule is field data will be ordered once the amendment has been executed. That's their proposal that they've given us for tonight. So field data will be ordered once the amendment has been executed and notice to proceed issued. It's expected that field services will be completed within 2 months, approximately the end of January, and final deliverables provided within 2 additional weeks, approximately mid-February. Current engineering services will also begin following this notice to proceed. However, they will be limited until the field data is delivered. Incremental engineering analysis will be completed within 2 months from receipt of full field data deliverables. So that's going to be back up here to mid-February, February, March, April, okay? Alternatives, sizing, and concept design of rehabilitation features will be completed within 2 months of regulatory acceptance of hydraulic design incremental analysis, okay? At that point, they still have got to submit a application for a permit to St. John Water Management District. So at that point, you've got verbal agreement that, hey, it's a half PMP or somewhere between a half and a third, or whatever the number is. You've got that agreement with St. John Water Management District, who is the permitting authority. But you haven't submitted a permit yet, because to submit the permit, you're gonna have to have more engineering work done. So the assumptions in this, and I think this is worth mentioning again, is that available dam information will be provided to the team for analysis. Access will be granted for field inspections and data collection. Coordination will be performed on a regular basis and in a timely manner. Delays in coordination decision-making will be reviewed as increased risk to the project. Review periods will be performed in a timely manner to maintain project schedules. And the team will be allowed to meet with regulatory agencies to discuss the project. So that is the proposal, the amendment number 1 for phase 1B. And with the scope of services and the increase of $142,160, bringing the total cost of services, add the $117,724 to that to get to almost $260,000. So, any questions from the board? Matt?
So I've got a few things to go over on the document, but my biggest concern is that I think it's kind of bad practice for our partner to give us less than 1 business day's notice ahead of when they expect us to enter into a $140,000 agreement with them. I think for that reason alone, we should discuss this, but we should not vote it up or down until the January meeting. It should be posted on the website. There should be something more specific on the agenda than Hanson update. I think there are a lot of people who might show up to a meeting if they knew we were going to be voting on a $140,000 contract. So that's the most important thing to me. But regarding the specific contract, I'm a little concerned that they didn't spell out their acronyms. I counted not less than 8 that I have no clue what they are. I'm a flood control engineer. I don't know what a FERC is. I don't know what an HMS is, an NCH, RP, yada, yada, yada. It's common business practice to spell out an acronym one time and then to abbreviate it thenceforth. I think that would be appropriate for every contract we enter into them with. Regarding the specifics of the water surface elevation, I think it's likely that we're probably going to be abandoning the current discharge spillways. And if that's the case, I don't know why we need to build in an 8.5-inch cushion on the north dam, to say that, okay, well, we think the vegetation's gonna cause a clog, therefore, we're gonna assume an extra 8.5 inches on top of the freeboard, freeboard loss. So I think it would be appropriate to say, instead of the normal pool elevation being 24.4 and 44.4, give it 1/10 of an inch, or 1/10 of a foot, 24.5 and 44.5. If we're going to be abandoning those spillways anyway, we shouldn't, to your point, we shouldn't be assuming the vegetation is harming us to the point of closer to a foot. And my request would be that we communicate to them that once we start looking at the next stage, when we're looking at alternatives for gates, that we strongly consider screw-operated overshot gates. That's just a fancy way of saying gates that go up and down vertically, water spills over the top, and it's operated by a screw that drives a shaft up and down. That's going to allow us to control, in my experience, that's going to be a healthy balance between cost, maintenance, and ease of operation. So that's all I've got.
Well, that's enough. That's more than enough. That's your, any other comments? Any other discussion comments?
I strongly agree with everything Matt said.
Okay,
Yeah, I was just gonna comment, I agree that they should list all the acronyms at the front of the document.
I think that, just as a aside to that, I think as you go through the documents, you will find that in the majority of the cases, it is spelled out.
Somewhere,
Huh?
somewhere.
No, it's spelled out there.
There, but it's like you got a unpicked line.
Did you read it? Did you read it?
I read it,
Okay.
front cover to cover. Show me where FFE is spelled out, show me where SUE is spelled out, show me where HMS is spelled out, FERC, NCHRP, FIS, WSE, OPCC.
Well,
None of those are spelled out in the document.
As I found them, I just Googled them, and I found them within 30 seconds. It didn't slow me down.
okay, all right. Other comments, other discussion? Okay.
We're gonna put this on our website so people can see it in general.
What we have been doing is when we approve something, we as a board approve it, then we post it. And, if we want to, make a motion and approve this tonight, then we'll post it. If we don't, then we're not gonna post it.
I make a motion that we post the draft on the website and table voting on the up or down the amendment to the contract until January.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion?
Is there, I guess in further background, has there been any timeline mentioned or brought up by the regulatory people? Will this few weeks delay affect anything timeline-wise? Just a point.
I mean, a month to a month. We delay it a month, it'll get to them late, a month later, they review it a month after that.
All right.
Okay. Mike?
Yeah, I guess this is to Matt. What exactly do we gain by delaying it 30 days? The decision goes.
Two things. First of all, I would like to hear why they chose 0.7 feet and 0.4 feet as freeboard comfort zones. I don't have that answer. None of us have that answer because we haven't discussed it with them. The other thing is, I think it's just bad practice to enter into any agreement with somebody who gives you less than 1 business day notice of that agreement, especially when it's so significant. I don't want that to be the benchmark going forward. I don't want them to give us 1 day's notice every time they're coming to us for a $100,000 contract. We owe it to our constituents to give this more review than just quickly over the weekend glance at it and vote it up or down. That's my opinion.
Jenny?
I think it's wise to table it until January, simply because we have a couple of outstanding questions. The vegetation seems to be another big question that we have.
Vegetation,
The vegetation, whether there would be as much vegetation as they were planning for.
The obstructing of the flow on the,
their
Culverts.
comment on that was that, that was a more conservative approach to use the spillway, the existing spillway's elevation for this incremental analysis. You know, that was the comment, okay?
Maybe if you don't wanna wait a whole month, ask the questions we have concerns about,
call a special meeting.
call a special
Sure.
meeting, and then get on with it. Because that gives everybody in here time to more than just look at it one time and understand our issues. And it gives us time to get your questions answered. And it also gives our constituents an opportunity to see it and ask us questions if they want to. I think it's very important. This is the beginning of something big, and we're talking 200,000 plus overall.
We've already approved 117,000 of that.
I know,
All right.
but it's still totaled out. So my recommendation, or I'd like to make a point and try and get this done in a special meeting.
I'm open to amending my motion. Does anyone, well, how does everyone else feel about that?
Wait. What, I'm not, you still made a motion, you got a second, okay?
We're in discussion.
We're in discussion, so I don't know that we're through with discussion yet. Any of the other board members have a comment or question or thing to discuss?
Yeah, my comment is when I read this, they're stating that they're gonna work within some logical boundaries, but that the answer has not been defined yet. And I think that vegetation question will flush out when the answer is found. I don't see that as a big deal. I think the boundaries, they're just saying they think they can work within this, and when they get the hydrology stuff back, they might change those numbers, and it'll all be presented to the regulatory people, and then that might change the boundaries again. We don't know.
Well,
I think we should proceed. I think there's no reason to keep waiting.
But what they specifically call out is that they're going to say that they are assuming there's going to be such an obstruction that there's an 8.5-inch difference between where the North Lake Asbury normally is and where they're assuming it's going to be before the storm event comes. What that means is that there's going to be, you might as well take the dam and raise it up 8 inches and eat the cost of that entire raise, because that's effectively what we're saying. We're saying take that 7.5, 8 inches and we're going to build that in. I think that's too conservative, and I think we should at least ask them to consider pulling that back to maybe 1 inch, 1/10 of a foot.
Yeah. Well, I think what we should do is gather a list of questions and present the questions back to them, and then
come back and.
Special meeting is in order. That's fine.
Okay, so
there's many ways to skin a cat.
I'd like to amend my motion that we have a special meeting.
We're not necessarily through with discussion yet. Is there any other discussion? Jerry, you got anything? No. Diane? No. Mike, you already did. Larry?
I'm just concerned, how many people are out there waiting in line to help us get the dam going? How many other companies placed a bid? I think we need to be careful about that too. If we drop it, what we're gonna do.
So would you recommend that we just blindly go with what they say every time?
I don't think this outfit come in here with the reputation that they had and try to snowball us or do anything other than help us include trying to get the money. I just don't think they're that kind of dishonest people.
Okay.
Although I think most of them in Florida are.
I'm with you, but do you think there could be better practice than giving 1 business day's notice of something that, I feel it's so significant that we should at least have a week to review it.
That's a little bit much, 1 business day, yes. Because I've been busting my butt for over a month trying to get people to respond to simple thing of, and I get this done or that done, I don't even get phone calls returned or email messages answered in a month's time, so, yeah. No, I don't think that's too much to ask for. But, like I said, I think we need to be careful too.
Okay, I will make a comment, in the discussion format here. I read the response I got from Brian Wozniak. They had difficulties getting surveys. They had difficulties getting geotech people. So if they had settled with the first one they got, I told you it would have been $70,000. So they could have very easily, to shorten the time frame and given us a response, given us a BS response, $70,000 more, all right? And would we, as this board, have the intelligence and the knowledge to know that that $70,000 is good or bad? I don't think so. I don't think so. So I think that we have an engineering group that was willing to work with us. They also said this is a two-way street, and that what that means is that they can walk or we can walk. All right? So I think we better be very careful with what we do here. I'll also remind you that they came highly recommended by Walt Rigner, who is with Black & Veatch, and that's a well-known engineering company, bigger than Hanson, and he knows some of these people personally. So I think that we should listen to and continue to listen to the advisory people that we solicited to help us in this process all along. So, and I can understand some of the comments about what do these letters mean or what does that mean and that sort of thing. But we are not the engineers. We are not the engineers. We hired an engineering outfit. So if we're going to second guess everything these engineers propose to us, in my opinion, we're not going to have an engineer very long. And we will have already spent $117,000 and whatever. So that's my comment.
I sort of appreciate your comments, but at the same time that they took all the time they needed, they saved us maybe $70,000, but they took the time they needed. And all I'm saying is,
to make the right choice, as they felt.
And I think we need the time to make the right choice.
All right.
And if we scare them off after 2 weeks of delay, we didn't have anything to begin with.
Agreed.
Okay. I would like to see a list of the questions that we want to ask them and get clarification before we have a vote. So can the secretary take the notes of what specific questions do we have?
I'd like to say that in 5 minutes. This is taking time to read the material and figure out what our questions are. I'm not prepared at this very moment to give you a question that's worthy of going back to them. And I don't know if maybe Matt and maybe Tom are, but I would like the time to look at it and come back with it. Is that unreasonable?
I don't know.
No.
I don't know. You said no. I said I don't know.
Well, I'm not trying to be unreasonable. I'm concerned about that. We get started down the path with a company that we may be spending $9 million with. I don't want to set a precedent now of getting one day to figure out if I want to give them another $100,000. I would like time to look at it. I'd like time for the people in this crowd of our board who are actually engineers to also have that time.
So would it be reasonable to set a special meeting 2 weeks out, give you a week to look over the answers, submit questions to the chairman or to the secretary, and then have the answers to those questions provided?
I think it's reasonable. we're only talking 7 days to get our questions together and then have a special meeting and get it right back to them. That's pretty good business turnaround.
Would we need,
Better than you thought.
would we need a special meeting to present the questions back to them, or can we just gather the questions and send them back to them? Pick a date and send it back.
Well, the coordination between Hanson and the board is me, and that's the way it's been, okay? And so unless somebody changes that, that's the way it's gonna be. And maybe that's where I have an advantage over some of the rest of you, and that's, I make certain, since I'm the chairman, that I review every piece of information I've got. Since I coordinate with them, I call them, I have discussions with them. Yeah, I didn't like, I was having a discussion today at 4 o'clock. So I don't like the squash of time frame either. But with the answers I got on the questions I had, I am totally confident in these guys, totally confident.
So bottom line is you got your questions answered and the rest of the board did not. That's kind of why we're hedging a bit here. We would like our questions answered because we don't have an open lifeline to these guys.
Yeah. No, I can understand that.
Just another question. Can you comment on the feedback from the advisory board, or have they had time to review this?
Well, Mike Kelter hasn't even responded to me, but he hadn't responded to me in about the last 3 months, so, neither has, Mike, Wamey hadn't responded since September a year ago. So, the guy I was talking about, Walt Rigner, he responded, but he said he needed to look at it some more. So he's kind of saying the same thing that some of you are saying, okay.
Kind of independent of this conversation, but related. We may want to consider maybe having the secretary be the lead coordinator, only because the individual board members can engage in conversations by email with the secretary. We can't do that with you without violating sunshine laws. So if we wanted the answer to a question, we'd send it to you, you'd get an answer, you'd get back to us, boom, we violated the sunshine law. We're screwed. We have to come to a regular meeting to do it. Maybe we could think and come up with a solution at a future meeting of a better way to do this sort of thing without violating sunshine. If that makes sense.
I don't follow what you're getting at there.
What I'm getting at is I can't ask you a question and then you answer me outside of this meeting without violating the statute.
Yeah, okay.
If the secretary were sending the email to Hanson and Hanson were getting back to her, she could get back to me and the whole board. We could send all of our questions to her, she could answer us and distribute them back to us. If you do that, we're violating am I wrong, Hans?
He's not a trustee.
Exactly. That's the only reason we're allowed to do it, is because trustees can't have a conversation outside of a meeting.
The one disadvantage to what you're saying, I think, and if you want to do something about it, then I know what you can do about it. And that is that we agreed early on that one person would be the coordinating contact with Hanson, and that's me, okay? And if we get everybody on the board being in contact with Hanson, guess what? We ain't gonna get anywhere.
But the flip side of that coin, the flip side of that coin is if there's one point of contact, this is the chance that we have to converse. This and the special meeting, nothing in between.
I think what's wrong with having a special meeting, submit the questions to me, I'll submit them to Hanson.
And then you bring an update.
Hanson will present the answers. Probably if we're gonna do it that way, then Hanson needs to be sitting right here with us and/or in direct communication.
That sounds good to me.
Do you want me to at least address it since you asked?
Sure.
Please.
Yeah. I I think sending an email question is fine, as long as there's no response. I mean, it's the conversation that violates sunshine law, so fact finding is okay, as long as there's not a substantial conversation, because that needs to be done in an open meeting, so any trustee who has a question, it's almost, you could equate it to, setting the agenda. The trustees can email, hey, I want this to be on the agenda for me, and then they discuss it at the meeting. So if any of the trustees have a question for Hanson after reading this, they could email their question, and that email can go to the chairman or to the secretary or both or whoever. And then, as long as there's no discussion on that outside of an open meeting, those questions can then be submitted to Hanson, and Hanson can respond, and then those responses can be delivered at the next meeting.
Hans, I think that's a reasonable solution, but, okay, so if it comes down to Alton gets all of our questions, which is fine with me, I don't care about that, and he gets the answers, then before our next meeting, I'd like him to send them out to us so we can look at the answers and come in prepared to speak or to think.
Well, Hanson's answers, if they're in written form, if someone at Hanson wants to, however they want to answer them in written form, those can be sent out, because that's not coming from a trustee.
And we're not discussing it, all we're doing is getting facts, we're reading the facts and preparing for the meeting.
If Hanson sends it to him and all he does is forward it to us, no comments, no anything, he's not engaging in a conversation, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, we can do it like that.
So we still need to maintain your contact. We don't go willy-nilly everywhere. We get our answers back, we have our meeting, we're prepared.
Can I amend my motion?
Yes, go ahead.
So I'd like to amend my motion so that if there's additional discussion, we can discuss our questions tonight, that we get our questions to the chairman by, what, next Monday? Is that good for you?
Yes.
Alden?
I think a day's plenty of notice. No, I was just joking there. I was being sarcastic.
All right, so we get our questions to him by Monday. He gets answers. Are we planning on having them? I'm sorry. This is in the middle of the motion. Is it reasonable to expect that they might be able to answer them on the screen? Alden?
I don't know.
Okay. So let's say
That's
we
where we've
get
been headed with Tom and these guys, working to where we can have virtual meetings, and that would be a good.
If we're able to get them on the meeting to answer it, great. Otherwise, he'll get the answers and forward it back to us in the form of a changed statement of work attachment amendment that we can vote on at a special meeting to be called at a date to be determined by a separate motion.
By a separate motion.
Yes. Do you want to get into the scheduling before we've approved the motion?
I want to move the process along as fast as we can so that we minimize delaying the process and we minimize the potential negative impact of the relationship between Hanson Professional Engineers and this board.
Okay, does that mean you want a date right now for our special meeting? Because if we do, I can see that. That way we say to Hanson, we would like these responses back by such and such date so that we can hold our special meeting to discuss.
Yeah, my amendment is, or my motion was just to say that we approved with this, and then in the next 2 minutes, we can talk scheduling.
Then we need to.
We'll check with Wanda. I'll get her on the phone building.
I'm sorry?
I can get her on the phone, okay?
Check with Wanda to schedule the building for the holidays, it's booked,
It's booked on every weekend and sometimes every night, but we'll figure out how to do that. Did you get a motion out so that we can vote on it?
Yes, motion is questions to him by next Monday. And then we immediately work together to schedule a special meeting for a date that will be determined in about 5 minutes for sometime in December to vote this up or down, the amended version.
I second it.
So questions to me by Monday,
Yes.
and the balance of that statement was,
That we will call a special meeting
Special meeting.
sometime in December. Date to be determined in 5 minutes.
I don't know that we'll be able to do that with, what y'all just said about the, unless we have a meeting at my house. So,
Do you want us all to come to your house?
We have in the past been able to have meetings at the church.
Yep.
And there have also been the Lola meetings out in the park because of double bookings. So where there's a little bit.
okay, no, I agree with that. Let's just figure out when we think the sooner the better, that's all I'll say. So you're saying Monday is what? 12? Then you give Hanson half a day to respond? Okay.
Next meeting, the 13th.
I mean, it ain't taking any time to respond.
Right.
I mean, it's not. I could probably answer most of the questions, myself if I knew exactly what they were tonight.
We have a motion, I think, in a second, are we on discussion? Is it appropriate to make a comment?
She's been trying.
Yeah, we're still, yeah.
Okay.
You're just gonna have to stand up there.
I believe that, the hesitancy is on that we have one day to, go through this material. And it really wasn't a business day, we got it over the weekend. And, so we've been called today the business day. And I think the questions are really so few, and they're really points of clarification. And it's just a couple of items. And it doesn't seem to me that this would be a big ask to come from this, to send these clarification items to Hanson, that they'll get on it really quickly. And I don't question their integrity, or I don't think they're trying to pull one over or sneak something in the middle of the night. I think that they will be able to drill down on these concerns very quickly, because there are not that many of them. But it'll go a long way to making people who feel rushed feel better, and it'll go a long way towards helping our community feel like they've got a chance to talk to board members or trustees if they need to. I don't think it'll take long at all, and pumping the brakes for a week or so seems appropriate. I think they'll get better.
No, there's no doubt Hanson would be able, if they were sitting here right now, they'd be able to answer every question off the top of their head. No doubt in my mind. I can probably answer 75% of them myself if I knew specifically what they were. But we're not going there. So that's the motion, that's the discussion. Any other discussion? No? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Aye. Okay. Looks like the first aye is won. So that's the way the democratic system works. So the next step is, when is the meeting going to be?
Getting one on the phone, yeah.
They just
Kate's
said
getting
that.
one on the phone. Kate Manley's outside the door.
You can have it, all right, keep the calendar back up, it crashed. You can have it, the 12th, you're gonna have your questions returned.
Yep.
It's available,
It's available what?
Yeah, so look at the week of the 19th or the week before after Christmas,
you can do
basically.
the 19th, the 20th, or the 21st. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Lola is not having a meeting in December, so you can use that, you can have our Monday night, you can have the 20th or the 21st.
I'm good with all those.
If you get the answer back quickly, why do you wait so long?
Or you can have the,
Why not have it next week?
Correct.
So you can
Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday?
you can do the week of the 12th, you can have Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday.
We can't have Monday because
Both
that's
of
when the
Monday,
questions are due to Hanson.
Any difference?
You could do the 12th, 13th, or 14th, the 19th, 20th, or the 21st.
21st is getting really close to Christmas.
If we do the 19th, it gives Hanson a full week to answer in case someone's on vacation or something like that.
You don't want to do it on the 14th?
Does this board need a full week to get questions together to submit to Alton?
Why can't we move this back and have the questions this week and let them answer next week?
There you
This
go.
is-
That's right.
This happens all the time, people. This is not a big deal.
Get it to them Friday.
It is difficult with the holidays, but 2 or 3 days turnaround is more than reasonable.
So it's available 12, 13, 14, or 19, 20, or 21. Those days.
I cannot do the 13th at all. I can do any of the other days.
How about we do the 14th then?
For the special meeting.
Yeah, for the special meeting.
14th?
Do you want to give Hanson 2 days? Different dates? Or are you going to put all your nuts on for the 14th? If that doesn't work, you want to back up on the 19th?
And then they answer.
Okay, all right. So I'll get on the 14th for you.
So I'd like to make a motion that we have a special meeting on the 14th to discuss the updated attachment A1. 14th,
And the question could have been, I'm sorry.
Monday the 12th for the questions.
It was only given in 2 days.
Yes.
All right. I agree with what somebody was saying in the, don't wait till the 12th to send the questions. If you got them, then do it tonight.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, I don't understand the difficulty here.
Okay, so when do you want the questions by? That's the next question.
Well, we already had a motion that said we'd do it by the 12th.
No
All I'm
later than the
saying is
12th, but if
do
he
it.
can get it earlier, he can get answers earlier, and we're not waiting to the last minute for everything.
7 o'clock a.m.
There you go.
So I'm dangling on a motion for the special meeting for the 14th.
I second.
Okay, any more discussion about that? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous? Okay. What I will do, just so we're clear on communications, is as I get questions from anybody, say Carol, as an example, you send me questions, I will immediately send that to Hanson, okay? And so I'm not gonna wait, that way if they've gotta do any extra work or anything, they can do it. But, so my challenge to you is as soon as you can get the questions to me, do it,
Yep.
If anybody got any questions for any of the trustees, get them to us. And we'll get it. Period. That way we can just do it quickly.
Okay, but they need to come to me.
That's fine. If you just want to give us questions, comments at a meeting, I have to have a copy of that.
That's fine. All right? Okay. So, Janet, grant update?
All right, well, tonight I'm going to ask the board to direct Hanson to apply for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Flood Damage Reduction Project grant. I do not.
I cannot hear you.
Sorry. Tonight I'm going to ask the board to approve the U.S. Army Corps Flood Damage Reduction Project. This is grant money, and Tim is gonna, or Tom rather, is gonna pull this up for us so we can see it. I am not going to read this verbatim.
Which one is it?
Should be the late, maybe
Or Janet wanted to take this.
Nope, not that one. Oh, that's the one that Alton said, it's the second one.
Yeah.
Go back to your email and then go down. See, it's the first one, grant info attached, section 205, go down, down, I sent you two. There you go.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see it.
There we go.
Okay.
I'm not gonna read all of this to you, but I'm gonna give you the highlights. This is a grant that is for the study, design, and construction of small flood control projects in partnership with non-federal government agencies. So it's the Fed and non-governmental agencies, LAMSMA, coming together. The maximum cost for the planning, design, and construction of any one project is $10 million. 100% of that is federally funded up to $100,000. Once you get over $100,000, all costs are shared equally, it's 50-50. 1/2 of that non-federal share can be in in-kind services. Now, in-kind services is not defined. Okay, I'm assuming, and you know what happens when you assume, but I'm assuming that means that they will pay for studies that we've already done at the time of the grant. But that is my personal assumption. Okay, costs for preparations of plans, specifications, and construction are shared at a 65-35, 65 being the Fed, 35 being the entity, which is us. Non-federal share responsibilities for dams is in B. So, Tom, if you can scroll down to B, that's where they specifically talk about dams. All new projects under this authority, including dams and reservoirs, are considered local protection projects. That's not.
I'm trying to make it bigger. Anyway, sorry about that.
It's bigger.
Now I might have to be, that's weird.
There we go.
We can see it.
Non-federal responsibilities for such dams and reservoirs will thus include the usual lands, easements, right-of-way, and other requirements of local protection projects. Similarly, non-federal interest must operate the flood control features of any dam or reservoir in accordance with regulations under the authority, So this is something that is geared towards dams. And they feel very confident over at Kimley Horn that this is a grant that we can definitely conquer. So I'm going to ask the board. We have said that Hanson can apply to 3 grants for us, and I'm asking that the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers be one of the grants that we pursue with Kimley Horn.
Does this one require any upfront money?
Does not. It just requires you to scroll down a letter signed by our board chair. Keep going down, please. And it just requires that this sample letter be signed by our board chair.
A question?
Yes, sir.
You're making a motion or not?
Yes, I'm making a motion that
Well, I guess we gotta-
we allow Kimley Horn to pursue this U.S. Army Corps Flood Damage Reduction Project grant.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Now we're into discussion. The discussion to follow along the lines of our previous one. So we're supposed to vote on this and we ain't even seen it?
We're asking them to investigate it, to try to.
I mean,
What he's saying is we've paid for 3.
Yes.
This would be counting against it and we haven't seen it. That's what he's saying.
Yes.
When did they talk to you about it?
Today.
Look,
The question is, do you have questions?
the question are that in our last meeting and probably even before that, we talked about, in this book, there was, grants and that sort of thing was spelled out in here. And there was, if you remember, there was a whole series of 8, 10 grants.
And a lot of them didn't seem to apply.
Well, the discussion that we had at that time was we all as a board needed to know more information about what the potential grants are. All right? And that we should probably have a meeting, a special meeting with Kimley Horn, Hanson, whoever is, I think Kimley Horn is coordinating that. And so, so I'm confused as to, do we know enough to, I mean, it sounds like if somebody's willing to give you money, go ahead and take it, but it's
But
not.
that is burning one of our 3, and we've already decided FEMA is gonna be one of the, we definitely need them for FEMA. So that leaves us down to 2.
No, wait. What you're saying is not true. What you're saying is they proposed that they would give us 3, but they did not restrict it to 3. They'll get as many as they can get.
Oh, of course, for more money.
Huh?
For more money, of course.
Yeah, but that's the saving grace on this whole project that's got everybody irritated about $2,400. And that's the quickest way you're gonna get off of that is with grant money.
Absolutely.
Have they ever dollarized this 3, and then if you go to 4, it costs you this much more?
I mean, they will do, Tom, they'll do it. They've already said that.
Yeah.
In a meeting where, 2 meetings ago, they talked about that some.
If this is available and it's logical, then we should do it and move on to the next 2, or 3 or 4 more, you know?
Yeah. There were some grants that actually cost us money to get involved.
Right.
Like $25,000 up front.
Yes.
This isn't one of those.
This is not one of those.
So we're not spending anything to find out for, or at least apply.
So can we apply for this without Kimberly?
Without what?
Can we do this by ourselves, or have we agreed to do everything in concert with Kimberly Horn?
The paperwork on this particular one is very intricate.
Okay, well, that's my.
So, yeah, it is really.
Matt's trying to talk.
Just this one, couple of concerns, and a question. So my question is, do we know how confident are we that this applies to rehabilitation or new spillways on an existing dam?
That point, I'm not sure, because this is study, design, and construction.
Because that when I was reading this, it almost looked like it was talking about new dams from scratch, which wouldn't apply to us.
No, but they are confident that this applies to us as an existing project. But they were very clear to say it's the study, design, and construction.
Okay. And the only other thing, it's not going to change my vote, but the board should be aware that the strings that get attached to this are most likely going to be what's called a regulation schedule. It means that we will operate the lakes at a certain level at a certain time of the year, and when it's above that level, we will make discharges. It's not necessarily a problem. It's kind of what we do passively because we have spillover things, but that's usually what they do. When they give you money, they say you will operate it accordingly, and you will let us inspect it on a frequency and this, that, and the other. So there are some strings that come attached to this.
So we need to ask about that.
Yes.
That says levy and general modification, so it doesn't sound to me like it's a new thing. It's maybe modified.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, that's good. That's all I've got.
So we're still in the discussion phase?
So my question is, do we want to pursue this while we wait to find out what strings are attached? So that I don't know what the deadline is on this one. They did not share that information with me. Or do we want to reconsider this at our special meeting?
have they talked about any of the other ones that are on their list? Do we, because I've heard that there is one in particular that we missed out on already, and that's us.
The FEMA-
That is us.
Well, not really. The FEMA one, yes, we missed out, but it was more because the state of Florida wasn't prepared to absorb the money. The state of Florida actually has to create a department because they've never gotten this grant before. They will have to create a department to bring that federal money in and then disperse the money. So they are currently working on that now. So that was no fault of ours. That was the state of Florida that put the brakes on it.
Okay. But do you have any update on any others?
No, not at this point.
And,
Just this one that's coming.
Tom, you've been involved more in financing and that sort of thing than anybody on this board, I'm sure. If it's, it looks like that with that one, we would have to pay some 35% of something. I don't know what that means, but in total dollars, but, and when, those things have to be considered.
That was for the engineering services. If we did it for the construction of it's gonna cost us $1 million, multiple millions of dollars to put a new spillway in. They'll absorb 100% up to $100,000 of the new spillway. If we use this for the engineering services, yes, we're kicking in 35%.
Might be kicking on 100% otherwise.
But if we use this toward the construction of a spillway, we get all $100,000.
Exactly. And it did talk about erosion of banks in this, as you were flipping through there.
That's the maximum, is $100,000 we could get off of it?
Yes.
Yeah, that's included. We do have a problem with that.
Desperately need that. Yes.
You know, they said up to 10 million.
Was it $1 million? Am I, oh, my bad.
Federal cost for planning, design, and construction of any one project is
10 million, yes.
So which is it?
said it can go up to 10 million.
So it can go up to 10 million?
That's a good chunk of change. And it says.
Oh, costs over $100,000 are equally 50-50. Okay, yeah. So the first $100,000 they would eat, and then we would cost share after that.
Cost share, and our share is 35%. Yeah.
Our share's 50% after $100,000.
I'm just concerned by the fact that they specifically talk about flood control, and this lake is not a flood control lake. Is that germane?
We operate it for flood control. It's not, it's a private lake, but it applies. Just trust me on this.
So where are we at here?
We had a motion, and we had a second, and we're still having discussion. But it's 10 million with cost share over 100,000. That includes engineering work and construction.
Study, design, and construction, and bank stabilization.
And does it say anything, or do you remember?
Limitation on erosion protection of banks and may be included.
Was there anything that you can recall, Janet, that it talked about the funds have to be expended by X date? Is it the same fiscal year or calendar year, or can it be?
I didn't ask that question.
Okay, but nothing jumps out to you in it.
No,
Okay.
no, not to
Okay.
everything that I read, no.
Is there a deadline on when we have to respond to this by?
There is. And I'm not sure what the deadline is at this point.
I'm gonna make another comment, in discussion phase, and that's, gee whiz. We're sitting here and we're asking for permission to approve this thing here, and nobody's seen it, yet we had all this hullabaloo about this other one. So how in the world can we really, without, you said the chairman's gotta sign that, I would hope he gets a chance to read it. I hope it makes perfect sense. I think it probably does, since you've been involved in it and Hanson's been involved in it. But if the deadline is a month from now to apply, I would rather have a little time to look at it. And I don't think that's an unusual request, just like the previous was not an unusual request. Provided we're not giving up an opportunity to have money coming in.
The first one, we were paying out money, this was supposedly we're getting in money.
No, you're making a commitment to pay 50% after $100,000.
But not until the feasibility study is done.
I don't know. I haven't read the thing.
And then if we get a grant, we can always turn those grants down. We don't have to accept them.
And it doesn't cost us anything like that. Review it, discuss it.
Is there support documentation, some website somewhere we can read?
I would imagine somebody.
I would think so. There's probably a lot out there on this grant.
Would it be unreasonable that if she can find that documentation and email it to us, we can at least read it and come back on the special meeting?
Yeah, we can do that. It's different from the motion that's proposed, but we could do it.
We need to change the motion.
I would like it if you did. I think Alton would like it if you did.
Okay, well, we'll change the motion that, by Thursday this week, you'll give me the questions that you have for this grant. I will give you more information on the grant tomorrow. And then on our special meeting on the 14th, we'll make a final decision on this.
Okay.
That's a motion.
That's the motion.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Matt seconds. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay.
So when you want your questions, Thursday, this Thursday.
Yes, I'll give you all the information.
Thank you.
Just as a, can you just send us an email with the name of that grant, please?
Absolutely.
Please, that'd be awesome.
Absolutely.
Because I'm sure there's a million things online, and I don't want to have to pester you if I don't have to.
I'll put some links in there. It's easy enough.
All right. The ball is still in your court, Janet. Do you have anything else?
No, sir, not at this point.
Not at this point. Okay. I think we had Larry Pence talk about water.
Well, like I said, last meeting, I would have, some dollar figures for you. I have 3 proposals, one from Aquagenics, they're all proposals, one from Solitude, and I wasn't involved with this one, but I have a Mr. Jim Schwartz, who is here from Florida Waterways. He looked at both lakes with, Mike Clemens and Walt Gadler, who
He looked at your lake. He would be looking at your lake.
Anyway, Jim would, and I'd like one with just time to give you his impression as what the lake would need and maybe the cost. I'll give you the, after he finishes, it's been waiting a long time. So, I'll give you the dollar figures that I have from the other 2 proposals. Good, Jim?
Jim, there's a microphone.
Yeah, right here.
Good evening, Board of Trustees and residents, thank you for having me.
Which one it looks to that?
My name is Jim Schwartz with Florida Waterways Inc. We're a lake management company out of Jacksonville. And last month I came out and surveyed the North Lake. And then my recommendations are to do a comprehensive study of the lake. In order to manage it, you have to have the data behind it. You have to quantify how much aquatic weeds you've got, what's growing and where they are, and also baseline water quality. One thing that happens when we manage aquatic weeds is after we spray them off, they die and they decompose. And the nutrients will cycle. And so in terms of water quality, those nutrients are available for new growth. And if you come in too heavy-handed, you can release a lot of phosphorus and nitrogen at once and spur unintended consequences out in the waters. So what I've recommended that we do is monitor water quality throughout the course of the year. And in the spring, we're going to do a bathymetric survey of the lake, of the lakes. We're going to scan them with a sonar unit, and we're going to be able to make a underwater contour map of the lake. So we'll have the data, the total water volume, the depth, and the contours. This survey will also give us what they call is the percent aerial coverage of the lake that has aquatic vegetation. And you can think of this as if you've got the eagle's eye and you're looking down. So this would show areas where plants are growing and where they're not. And then it will also give us the data percent volume inhabited, which is the biovolume. So if you've got plants growing in this area, this next measurement is a cross section. So think of it as the density of plants. So how much there is. Once we have that, we're going to throw a grid over the lakes, and we're going to do 100 point intercept slopes. We're going to go out and we're going to throw a rake toss in 3 directions. We're going to pull up the vegetation, and we're going to see what is growing, because we're going to catalog the species that we pull up. And then spatially, we're going to know the plant communities, so what's growing where. Then from there, we have the density of the plants. We're going to be able to calculate an internal load, how much phosphorus and nitrogen are already in your pond or your lakes. And once we have that, then we can actually come up with recommendation strategies, determine what the threshold is, for when an area needs to be treated. You guys have a multitude of uses out on this lake. While we were out there, we're enjoying the vista and the wildlife. We saw fishermen, I know families boat out there. So you've got a variety of uses, and they need to be considered in balance. You guys want to have a thriving ecosystem here. So then finally that data will place us on, they call it the trophic state index. And this is a calculated figure. And on one side you've got a ligneotrophic, which is a crystal clear mountain spring with no biological activity. And then you've got a hypereutrophic, which is at the high end. And think of that as a pea green soup water body. And we're gonna place Lake Asbury on the scale with the data we've collected. And eutrophication is a way of, an easy way to think of it is the aging of a lake. One day Lake Asbury will keep climbing up this scale. And so it's important to know where you are on that scale, because you've got options long-term for nutrient remediation, different best management practices to slow or reverse that aging process. So that's something we're also going to recommend too, is once we know where you are on that scale. So we would be sampling water throughout the year once a month in 7 places, 3 in the North Lake, 3 in the South Lake, and 1 in Lake Ryan. Our vegetation survey would happen at the end of the winter. In the North region, or in Florida's DEP has broken the state up into North and South region. So the North region They recommend to do a vegetation survey starting in May. However, if we have a mild winter, we might be able to do that sooner. We've had a couple mild winters back to back. And then from there, we could make the actual spray program recommendations that you guys can do from May to October. Yeah, so I'm open for questions too.
I have one question. I live on the Wesley Road finger, which is among the worst. It also needs to be dredged. So can all of this happen simultaneously? Because if I understood you right, what you're gonna do is gonna take so many months to acquire the information, to use it.
So water quality sampling is going to happen throughout the year so that we know what's going on throughout the seasons with the lake.
Not getting interrupted, we're already doing that.
Yes.
With, Florida
Lake Watch.
Lake Watch, yeah.
Yeah, and so the benefit is we've got in-house laboratory equipment. We can get these more regularly and for more data points.
Okay.
So you would be getting monthly reporting from us. And then as far as your question, so the vegetation survey would happen, I'm proposing April or May, depending on weather conditions. And then you can start managing aquatic reefs right away. And as to your question for dredging, one of the measurements from the hydroacoustic survey is a relative bottom hardness. So it would show areas that are hard bottom or soft, unconsolidated mud bottom. Yeah, so that is a map we would make.
So the question is still, can it happen simultaneously, or does one precede the other? How does this all work?
So we need to do the vegetation survey before we treat, so that we know what there is to treat, how much of it is there is to treat.
So if you dredge,
we don't do dredging.
no, I'm saying, can the dredging happen before what you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the dredging could happen before, and then you would just have post-dredge data.
The same thing.
Yes.
Right. All right, I got you. So one doesn't have to stop so the other can stop. Dredging can happen and your study. Because we're talking long-term water quality.
Yes.
Jim, I got a question. What about grass carp?
Yeah, so we've got a broad set of tools as lake managers. It's not just chemical, and one of the tools is grass carp, so it's biological control. The grass carp are great. They're little underwater lawnmowers. They work 24/7, 365, controlling the weeds. So you guys need a permit, and there needs to be a carp containment barrier on the outfalls. FWC set some design specifications. It's 1.5 inch spacing, no greater than 1.5 inch spacing. And so if a carp containment barrier were placed on your outfalls, you could permit for grass carp, and we can supply and stock grass carp.
I have a question about your water testing. How quick does the entity we're using now turn around the test scenario in order to your test turnaround time?
Turnaround time for what?
Hey, Tom, I think I can
When we submit water testing samples, how quickly do we hear results?
Oh,
Hey, Tom, I can answer this, because I deal with guys.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It takes them at least 3 months. You know, I turn them in every 3 months, and typically when I'm sending in the next 3 months, I go look at the last one. I just got June, July, August.
we just had a conversation with them, they're almost 6 months behind.
Yeah.
They're full 3 months for sure.
So the question to Jack is, right, how quickly do you turn your stuff around?
Yeah, so samples would probably be next day. Yeah, we take them and either test them that afternoon. Yeah. I don't want a refrigerator full of water samples.
Jack, did you look at all three lakes? Lake Ryan, Lake, South Lake, North Lake?
After he finishes, I have some dollar figures on everything, including, the spraying, of the vegetation that we currently have, which is mainly southern naiad, but we do have, coontail in the lake and, a little bit of hydrola, but not enough to really concern ourselves with at this time. This is southern naiad, the coontail, spatter duck, which is lily pads, if you want to get them, and, both solitude, are you finished up on?
Real quick to answer, Chairman Davis's question, I've only looked at the North Lake.
Yeah, that's really the only, we don't have the same, grass problem in the South Lake at all. I've been on that 3 times in the last week, and, the water quality, the purity of the water is a lot worse than what the North Lake is, but that's just, you can't, the visibility is 6 feet when you measure it, and even though we have all the grass and the problem we have in the North Lake, that visibility is 12 feet. So at present time,
So one of the reasons for that is you're gonna have a lot of phosphorus locked. You can think that it's locked up in the naiad that's growing.
Mm-hmm.
And so the nutrients are there, they're just organized in naiad in your North Lake. Your South Lake could be more planktonic.
Right, that's exactly what it is.
Right.
Okay, thank you for your time.
I have a question.
Yeah.
You've discussed chemicals, you've discussed the car, but one way to get ahead of some of it is through mechanical means. Does your company provide the mechanical means, the boats and such that go in and scrape up and
So
get you ahead of the game?
We do that on areas less than an acre, but one of the things what I'm going to conclude with is your definition of your management threshold and then your options. So I'd let you know when it's feasible, and you guys will be, welcome to bid that out with those companies. I'm not opposed to that.
Anything else?
Can I ask a question, Chairman?
Technically, we're out of order because you're supposed to write your questions down on the piece of paper, but since we've already, is your question about this particular subject then?
Yes, sir.
Go right in.
So if the study's not going to be concluded till May, we will not start any type of mediation until May, which means these weeds will grow many-fold between now and then, especially the hyacinthus, the floating clumps of weeds that are in the aldersgate finger.
Duckweed.
Oh, that's duckweed. Okay, so without starting now, I think we get behind the 8 ball. Is there some type of remediation, like putting fish grates containment and starting with carp while you're doing your study, or do we need to wait till May or longer before we can start any type of mediation?
So I would do this study, we're going to commence as soon as possible. I don't know what the weather's going to do. We could have a brutal winter and, a good dieback. It could be a temperate winter. So we would get this study commenced as soon as possible. It's likely April, based on the past couple winters we've had. And then generally, the plants are going dormant. We're starting to see it now. I know we still have 80-degree weather in December, but we are going to have a dormant period. If you had mentioned water hyacinth, those should be going dormant.
Sort of the weeds that I have in my town doesn't seem to bother them a bit, they just green up and keep on going. Back to Kate's question, she asked about mechanical means, that where you can pull this stuff out, and if you have to, put it on my bank and let it dry off, and we'll pull it out there, but And it's sort of addressing what he said, it's like trying to get on top of this before it just gets worse and worse and worse, and it is that. So do you have that mechanical capability, or is that subbed out?
So it's something that we've done in the past, typically on smaller ponds, about an acre or less. Really the difficult part of this is the haul away. So if there's a single access point and you're asking for each pulled from here.
Pardon, I got access.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
it's to the point where we're sick of it, and if we have to do something, we'll try to do something. We'll give it capability.
Sure.
I can answer that question. We checked into that also, and, it's roughly $2,500 a day for him to come into our, ramp, that's where he would have to enter. And if you come all the way down to your left, right, in the dam or anything like that, he's just driving down back and forth. Yeah, it's going to be really, really expensive.
I've never seen how.
I'm not saying that's not one thing. I checked into purchasing one of these machines. It's $92,700. We can do it ourselves. Yeah, I did. I swear to God. I'll show you all the literature. All we got to do is buy it. I'll write it.
Oh, good.
But that's what it is.
We can rent it out to the other subdivisions. $1,500 a day.
$92,700. And comes with its own trailer, because it runs in the water just like a front end loader, but they provide a trailer for it too.
So what do you do with it?
Yeah.
Put it up?
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you do with it? You put it
Oh,
on my bank?
put it in your door.
Okay, I think we're getting off target here. Let's bring it back into some, so.
These people will have some kind of idea, thank you. I have a proposal from Solitude, and the annual contract for basically doing the same thing is about $12,600 or $1,050 per month. The very first thing that we have to take care of is the grass carp. Because nobody, including this gentleman, I don't think wants to do anything about the grass while it's dormant and not growing right now. The proposals are to come in March, April, and May, and you can spray either Naiad, or Dicot, or Indithol. If we do Dicot, it's about $483 per treatment, and the 43 acres, that'd be $20,769. And after that, it takes 2 more treatments using Dicot. So we're talking $60,000. And then we have Indithol, the chemical, and that's $1,587 per 43 acres. That would come up to, as a one-time treatment, $68,241. That's for spraying of the grasses and still has nothing to do with the grass carp. Last Friday I was told that the people who were growing the grass carp and were literally going out of business, and it was really hard to get. But right before the meeting today, the people from Aquagenics said that we could obtain 465 grass carp, that's 4 per acre for the North Lake, at a price of $11 each. That's $5,115. Tax on is $383.62, and delivery fee of $600 for a grand total of $6,098.62. That is to put grass carp in the North Lake only. The South Lake doesn't need it at this time. They don't have the problem that we do with all the various grasses. And that was Aquagenics. And Solitude had an annual contract of $12,600, $10.50 a month. That would be the spraying and one-time service contract on the North Lake only. They would come in March, April, and May and spray the grasses that we have for $10,550 each month for $30,650. That Solitude is a very large company, and I just want you to know what they would do versus Aquagenics, but the board would have to make a decision on how much money to spend. But that's, you're looking at, you have some sort of an idea as to what it's gonna cost you to treat the grass and get the carp. But the way you wanna do it is right here, and I think this should be taken care of this evening. Because we cannot get any grass carp due to the fact that the permit would expire in 2015, and we have to get a new permit. In order to get the new permit, we have to come up with barriers to prevent them from going into Black Creek. What I have in my hand is a proposal, Lace Valve and Pump Repair LLC. To fabricate 2 barriers to cover discharge pipes with 2 valves using 24-inch stainless steel pipe, 3/8-inch stainless steel pickets. Fabricate 3 barriers 16 inches high to cover 3 openings at the emergency spillway using 1 inch by 1 inch by 1/4 stainless steel angle iron with 3/8-inch pickets. To do this work, you have to lower the lake 4 inches to install the discharge pipe and barriers. Install 3 barriers at the spillway, 2 inches by 2 inches by 1/8-inch stainless steel iron with stainless steel anchor bolt. Also install the center brace on each barrier. And also to finish up with paint all exposed parts flat gray to prevent sun reflection on boaters and recreational people on the lake. I would like the total cost, proposed cost is $7,200. Without doing this first, we can't get grass carp, period. I will be able to, I found out before the meeting, I can save the board and everybody on the lake $240 is not much, but by filling out the application myself, after the barriers are up, they'll send a person to come and inspect it to approve it. But if I submit the form, they don't charge you anything. So I'd like to make a proposal that we accept Mr. Lay Valve Pump and Repair, their proposal, and have it installed ASAP. I'd like to make that a motion.
Second.
Okay, motion and second for installation of barriers to allow for carp and a permit to have carp. Is that what the motion is? Any discussion? Matt?
Did you get any quotes for what it would cost to mechanically harvest the North Lake?
To get all the harvested grass?
Yeah.
No, none of them.
No, nobody was interested.
Don't look at that.
Yeah, okay.
Hey man, I actually did get one, and the guy wants $2,500 a day, 10-day minimum, and he doesn't know how much he can extract.
Okay.
That's the problem with portage time, like I was saying earlier. If he pulls by Larry's house or Carol's house, the dam's a long way away.
Okay.
So if people let it go on the dock, it would change. You'll get a lot more weeds pulled.
Okay.
And the other problem was where we were going to dispose of it, so we'd have to come up with an area that we could donate. So I just didn't think it was financially feasible to even go there.
Okay.
Get the barriers put in, like, do you have to wait for a period, or?
It wouldn't be, we're not talking months or anything like that, because, we'd like to get them in, this is the best time to get the carp and get them in there anyway, they'd be eating on it while, and I read that they eat 2 to 3 times their body weight each day. So, and the ones that go in there are 8 to 10 inches long, So they're not real big apples.
What
And,
size car?
They go fast, but they eat a lot every day.
What size car?
Yeah.
10 to 12? 10 to 12 inches?
10 to 12.
10 years ago, we did that in the Bass Haven, so we had to go to 14 inches.
Jenny?
Really?
So between the carp and the barriers, we're looking at a little over $14,000, am I correct?
The bear is 1,700 and, the carp is gonna be between 6,000 and 8,000.
Okay, and how long before Hanson is going to start changing the spillway and destroying all of Mr. Lee's
That's
work?
why I brought it up now, because, like I said, if this is not done, no grass carp, no nothing.
Well, we don't even know what they're gonna do, and that's months and months away. And in the meantime, people like me are sick of it, and we wanna see some action now, not 10 months or 12 months or a year and a half down the road.
But does that validate, spending $7,000 now just to tear it apart and
No, it doesn't validate, we don't know what we're gonna tear apart, but we do know right now, my house is worth $100,000 less, and I haven't been able to, because my water, I can't even look at it. And I am sick of it, and I'm paying my $2,400 like everybody else, and I want something done.
And do we have a priority list of the construction projects at this point? Before we're spending, big money, this is effectively, how many people's $2,400 that we're looking at here. And granted, I understand that we're sick of it, and I know it's gross, but at the same time, we have to be fiscally responsible, and we can't repeat the sins of the past.
Excuse me, how many people live on a finger in here? And
I
how many-
do.
No, okay, and how many people have had anything decent for the years, like at least the last 5 years? Certainly not me, and I'm paying my dues just like everybody else. And I am so sick of it, and there's at least 100 more like it out there. We have to begin to show some sympathy for the people that live on this lake.
Tom?
I was just curious, do we know a cost for the permitting part of this carp question?
Cost for the
So if we spend the money for the barrier and then we spend the money for the carp, what does the permit cost?
Nothing, that's what I just got.
Okay.
I'm gonna fill it out so it doesn't cost $240.
There's no big fee, okay, thank you.
No.
Yeah, I think this is, maintenance money that we need to spend. There's a lot of people that are not getting their money out of this situation.
It will go a long way to help the community support, or the $2,400 is painful, and we can't use, many of us can't use our lakes. And get these lakes in a shape that people can use them, enjoy them, be glad they live here, so they feel a smidge better about this $2,400 and can get behind having the roads torn up and the dams torn up. And I talked to a lady who spent all summer with her 2 little boys. My children grew up on these lakes. I remember when the lakes were bad and they couldn't use them. And this lady telling me that, yeah, the whole summer we didn't enjoy the lakes. I haven't used mine. Last month, my heart was really touched when Carol talked about her twilight years and having no water, and that she's not sure if she wanted to live here. So we got people at both ends of the spectrum who can't enjoy the lakes, and we can give them something to feel good about.
Another thing I can add, I am a real estate agent, 20 years experience. Just because my house is down $100,000 because I don't have waterfront anymore, let me tell you, it affects everybody in this room, because what my house sells for, they'll look at when they figure out what yours is worth. So we're talking about everybody's investment here, not just mine. And I'm not planning on selling, I'm just pointing
out, that that's how it's gonna affect us all if we don't do something with this.
Okay, let me clarify where we're at. You made a motion to approve this
To accept the proposal.
from Tim Lee's 7,200 to allow you to get the permit to put carpet.
Yeah.
All right, so that's the motion,
That's the motion.
and it's second.
Second.
All right, and that's what we're discussing now? Okay. So is there any more discussion on that? I would make a comment just as a means of clarifying, and giving an opinion. We have 3 lakes. We have 3 entirely different situations. I personally had never been on the South Lake, and I went on the South Lake with Mike Clements not all that long ago. And I live not too far from where Diane lives, and so I know what she's talking about. Mine is a little bit towards the dam, so it's not as bad, but it's not good. And so having that as a reference, I went to the South Lake, and I am shocked at how much better the South Lake is. There are very few places where you find a lot of growth in the South Lake. And then Lake Ryan, Mark McMillan says it's fine, all right? Well, he lives there, he's lived there a long time. So it seems like that our biggest short-term obstacle is the North Lake. And I don't know why there's such a difference between North Lake, South Lake, and Lake Ryan, but there is.
It's because people leave North Lake with boats and they bring them back and they don't clean them. When you go out into other water, you pick up all of the crap that's in that water and you bring it right back to ours.
So where I was going with that though is that it looks like our immediate short-term item to be addressed is the North Lake. I don't think, now the South Lake, obviously you got Hazelwood Hole and you got those kinds of things that are in a totally different category as far as dredging and that sort of thing. So it looks to me like that your North Lake is a big obstacle. I read a bunch of information several months ago and then turned it over to Larry and a committee. But, we used to have a permit for treatment of the North Lake and a carp permit for the North Lake. Both of those expired a long time ago. So I don't know, maybe you can look at that and say, well, gee, we didn't do anything, so we saved a lot of money between now and then. But that's not, that doesn't change the situation we've got now. And I agree that we need to start to do something on the North Lake, but I would not propose that we do any studies or anything else on the South Lake or Lake Ryan. And your proposal is the North Lake? Just to clarify.
I have the figures because people look at both lakes, but the biggest need is in the North Lake, and so that's the figures that I gave. I have figures for all of it. That they won't come in spring, but and down the road, I will see the need to put grass carp in the South Lake again too, but it's just not an immediate need, and like I say, with the way we're spending money, I don't see doing both lakes at the same time. Particularly North Lake first.
Well, the motion is strictly for this barriers to be able to put carp in. Now you're gonna have to come back with a motion after that to do whatever else you propose, I think. But is there any more discussion on the barriers themselves? I didn't.
That's all I have.
All right, okay, look, Janet makes a valid point. We don't know what the engineering thing's gonna look like yet. Frankly, that's one of the things I talked with Brian Wozniak about today too. With some of these things they're doing in this next phase is to clarify what all really has to be done as far as pipe going through dams and all of that stuff. So we've still got more information to find out before we can determine some of those things. It could be that the pipes are still there. They might be capped, they may be dug completely out. So, you know, if you dig them completely out, guess what? You're gonna drain a lake. So the carp are gonna go with it, ain't they? And it could be that your spillway, your existing emergency spillway is not gonna be used in the future, setup. So at that point, your grading and all, was wasted. But, I don't know what the timing is gonna be on this project that we're into. Just flat don't know now.
Yeah, but there's still gonna be valves, and there's likely the possibility we can relocate the screens.
Sure.
So I don't consider it a big.
No, I don't either. I just want to make the point that, we need to, the primary point I wanted to make was that there's the problem area is the North Lake. If we can do something with that, then, that's the biggest lake. What is it, 115 acres versus 60 something on the South Lake versus, I don't know, 5 acres on Ryan. So that's where most of your population is. It's where most of your terrible growth is. So that's a motion, second. That's discussion. Any other discussion on the approving this $7,200 for the? That's all we're really addressing right now with this motion is the $7,200. No more discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okay, so it carried. So once that gets done, then the Department of whatever they are, Wildlife and Fisheries, that guy comes out and inspects it before you can even put carp in anyway?
Yes.
So we're not ready to do that yet?
You request to amend temporary bass carp permit, and, it goes to Wanda Howe, FFW, Eustis Fisheries Lab, and, it's EUSTIS, Eustis.
Yes, yep.
Goes to Eustis, Florida, and she said, as soon as the bears are installed, if I take pictures of the installation of it and send that along with this form, that they will send the biologist to inspect it and initiate the number 4, and then we can order to get the record. That's it.
Okay. Pretty quick turnaround.
We got a little while to get quotes on the last part.
Yeah.
I think, Larry,
I have 2 different questions on the rest of it.
I think you need to pay attention to what the gentleman back here said a while ago, though, about the size of the carp.
Yeah, they have
purchased 900.
They'll be 8 to 10 inches long.
So we ordered 1,000 of 14 inches, and it was fine. Then we ordered another 2,000, I believe. It was a total of 3,500 carp in 2010 to 2012. And I'll tell you, they were by my house, they were 40 pounds, and they eat their weight per day. 1 times their weight per day, not 3 or 4 times.
It's been proven that the carp are efficient, so if the lake would stay on top of that instead of waiting for the problem to get so severe, that would be a more efficient process and probably more affordable process.
Well, if we're throwing stones, and we can say when that permit expired in 2015, you know, so somebody hasn't been taking care of business, in my opinion, just like you're saying. I agree with you wholeheartedly. But here we sit, so now we gotta figure out what we do.
So how quickly can these carp be purchased later on? Are they always available, or do they have to grow them?
Well, there are farms for carp.
Grass carp right now, the supplier is in Arkansas.
Yeah, either Alabama or Arkansas.
Yeah, Alabama and Arkansas.
The stocking season is October through April. You want to do it in the cooler months months for higher survival.
So there is some time sensitivity to this. We don't wanna mess around and miss.
Yeah, Rhonda Howell at FWC will take up to 90 days to get you guys a permit, so you need to get the barrier constructed ASAP. If you have to add 90 days to that.
And I also found out this, hatchery, the Shamanua, is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, Shangulu Fisheries.
That's nothing but a middleman, they buy the grass park and then charge it, so I was trying to eliminate that. And buying direct, I have, one place at $17.33 per fish, and I have one at $11 per fish.
Depends on the size.
That's probably true too. He says this has to do with.
I'm trying to work out a deal where I buy the 17 and pocket the difference.
I'm gonna have to.
And I guarantee you that doesn't affect the
Here, real just for the record, since Larry said what he said, I'm sure that our attorney would agree with me that we don't need to be joking about confiscating money from sources, even if it's a joke. We don't need to be doing that. Okay, so we've done that. Is that it, Larry? You guys are gonna have to come back later with another proposal on the carp, I guess. All right, so let's, where are we? We up to you yet?
Oh, hell no. Don't worry, I'll punt.
Tom Leahy.
I have a couple of things. So the first is I think we've all suffered through these meetings without any system. This system here, we've rented it, so we owe the guys some rent money. I've got him now down to the point where we can buy this system, $3,700. A new system is somewhere in the order of about $8,000 from Bosch. Bosch is one of the premier vendors in this space. There is another company in South Florida that makes a kind of a knockoff of this, and their new equipment will be about $3,200. So if we buy what you have right here, it will stay here for $3,700, and we won't have to pay freight and this $450 rent to send it back.
Any idea on the quality of the South Florida stuff, or is it a coin toss?
I have no experience with that. But this stuff is one generation behind what they're selling now. It's pretty much bulletproof. It's simple, and it will serve our purposes well when we have virtual meetings with Hanson or other contractors. So I'm making a motion that we need about $3,800 to cover. I don't think, according to this, he's not showing any tax here, but just to be safe, I'm rounding it up to $3,800, maybe even
We're tax exempt, right? We tax exempt?
Yeah, I'd asked Carl at one point if we had a tax exempt status, and I never got the answer, so I don't know.
Tom, you have an opinion?
I do not know if we have or not. I've never seen one. So we may have, as a government district, we should. I think at this point, this is, I won't say under the table, but I don't think that we have to pay tax on this. So there's a quote. I'd be glad to submit it to people that know more than I do as far as terms and conditions go. And then, as I said, the alternate is to buy a new system from downstate here, but I don't have the details on it, although it would come with a 12-month warranty. This is as is, where is.
So you made a motion to purchase this one?
Yeah, making a motion to purchase this.
Up to 3,800, you said?
Yeah.
Okay. Second?
Motion and second. Any more discussion? Only one comment that I would make is that, these things can walk off. And, so it needs to be, taken care of from a security standpoint, and we don't just leave them in that room over there somewhere.
No, we're not gonna leave them in that room over there. It will not last. There's a room back there that we can find a way to use.
Okay, well, that's all I would say is.
In the back room where they have some of the other equipment. At least
Man.
from talking to Paul, he says that's not a problem.
Okay.
Tom, what's the marginal cost if we wanted to get a couple more of these? Are they $100 a pop? Are they several $100 a pop?
I think about 250.
Okay.
He had,
Okay.
pointed that out. Well, he's saying rental, and I don't know why he's got rental here, but he's charging us $300 a piece for these.
Okay.
But they're available. Now
Okay.
and you can buy them on eBay.
Okay.
If you're that risky,
Fair enough.
Would be a good buyer, I would like to, this is the arrangement of the moment. It certainly can be improved upon, or put one out here in the middle for the audience.
Sure.
And the fact that if each one has a speaker, if there's a speaker there, that helps the audience.
How many microphones can you hook up to this?
You can expand these systems to over 300 microphones. There's quite a few of them around. I was impressed once I found out about them.
Tom, do these record as well? Are these recording?
Yeah, this system is recording, it has a 4-hour recording memory in it, and
Okay, and that's included?
that's
in
included,
that?
yeah.
Okay.
And so far, Shirley can comment as to good, bad, ugly as far as the recording audio.
It was very good.
Okay.
And I also used my phone to record with as a backup, and it was excellent quality there as well.
Okay.
Where before it was like strained.
Okay, any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, do you have something, Dave?
Oh, we're voting, go ahead.
No, I backtrack, not all in favor.
No, I just wanted to make a comment. I know it's not lost on me that I'm making a comment that I don't support this on microphone that we're talking about voting for, but when you look at the purpose and the powers of the group and where the money that we're clearly supposed to be spending our money on what we're supposed to be spending on, it doesn't fall in that purview, and I just wanted to make that statement.
Okay. All right, then, now we're, any other discussion? All right, so we'll vote. All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Nay.
So I think we heard 2, that still carried 7-2. Okay. So, anything else, Tom?
Yeah, our mowing contract is expired. I think in the past, we've just been renewing the contract, but to me, it seems like we should be making a new contract and include all the insurance requirements and everything, so everybody knows exactly what we're signed up for and what we're getting. But again, I'm not a contract person.
But you're saying what, go out to bid is your recommendation?
No, I don't know that, well, we can go out to bid. This guy has agreed to continue his price as where they are now, which is $22.75 per mow. And there's the present contract, which is now expired, there's 10 mows per year and an additional 3 mowings upon request. I don't know what the insurance requirements are. I'm guessing that we had that at some point buried in some document somewhere. I haven't been able to find it. So we can either go out for bids or we can continue this contract. The only negativity that I can think of with this particular contractor was probably hearsay, but there was some erosion area on the dams where they seem to have always put their wheels in the same place and it leaves a bare spot. But at one point, I believe it was Carl said that was the previous contractor. I really don't know.
Hanson said that in one of their reports back to us, that was of minimal concern. That was their comment, though, right? That was not one of their issues.
So that's it, we just need to, so my motion was gonna be to continue at the same price, but write a new contract with all the details in it going forward. I don't know what's in our purchasing policy, I don't know that we have
Draft.
finished that yet, so it's kind of a blank sheet of paper right now. So I would make a motion that we continue, that we make a new contract at the current price.
Well, hold on. You see, yes, that's their second, but my question is, you said you want to continue it, and then you said you wanted to renew the contract. Do you want to, are we making a new contract? Is that your motion?
I think.
Under the same terms?
I think because all the record, not lost, but no one has shown me.
What's the term
We
of
don't know
the,
what this guy's insurance requirements are. We need to state our requirements in our new document.
so, but you're not saying that we should sign him for another year right now? You're saying continue month to month? Is that, no?
I'm saying we should initiate a new contract with him immediately, or starting the first of the year. And we have a blank sheet of paper, we can edit this any way we see fit. I don't think it's a good idea to just extend the existing contract because it's written, in my opinion, very vaguely.
But how do we approve something that we haven't, you're saying there's a blank sheet of paper for the contract?
Well,
So we don't have a contract yet,
We have a contract.
but he's saying he doesn't
know
like
what
the existing contract.
is, so I'll table this for another month, but I need somebody to present the contract so I can make a new draft with all the proper names and all the details. I am not a contract person.
Yeah, so why don't we continue month to month, and once you have something, we can vote on that. I've got no problem voting on that.
And up to including, is this something Hans would write for us, or do we have someone designated to write contract?
Well, so here's what I recommend. Have this guy provide us with his contract and I'll edit it. I mean, this guy, I'm assuming he has contracts with other entities, or not?
I don't know.
You don't know.
I don't get the impression he's real paperwork.
Well, I don't know that you want to. I don't know. Obviously, you want to have a good contract with all your vendors, but I don't know that you necessarily want to spend your money on me drafting contracts with these vendors.
I agree.
Tell this guy if he wants to do business with us, he needs to get his act together and come up with his own contract, and then he can provide it to us, and I can review and edit it. I mean, I could draft any contract you want me to, but we shouldn't be doing this guy's job.
Tom, if you amend your motion to give me a month or two, let me take Carl out to dinner and pick his brain and see if he's got it on a hard drive somewhere.
Carl does not have it anywhere.
It's nowhere?
Given all his stuff back, we know that there's a copy.
I think I have a copy of it,
Okay.
and I will get it to Tom. Okay.
Okay, so if you just want to amend it until,
Yeah, well, I can amend my motion that we continue with him on a month-to-month basis. If he agrees, he may hold out and want to come.
Sure.
And I don't know, I'll talk to him.
Okay. I'll second that.
Isn't this something that we should put out to bid? I mean, $2,300 per mow is a lot of money. Especially when you're needing it multiple times a month.
Which gets into the purchasing policy that we have yet to discuss.
Exactly.
And I will throw out there, the other thing that is a question in my mind is if the schedule is such that we start doing work on the dam next year, should we get him to break out the price per dam, or we need some wiggle room in the contract so that if we're backhoeing and tearing up a dam and he can't mow it, he can't charge us this fixed rate for 3 dams.
Agreed.
So there's language here we need.
So we don't get an itemized invoice, it's just a flat fee?
It's a 2,200 whatever per
Yeah,
mowing.
yeah, itemization. Itemization's good.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
It's a lot of work.
Tom, do we have any historical documents from the previous vendor?
Yeah.
I'd like to know what we paid them.
Which won't be meaningful now anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, I believe it was less than $1,000 a month. I think it was like $750 a month.
And if we're not careful, you know, this price could go through the roof if we tickle him the wrong way. So.
Well, you got to have $1 million liability and workers' comp for your insurance.
You do because without, they can't. So, and not these guys don't have that kind of liability normally, that are willing to come out here. The one thing that does come to mind is that the association spends a lot of money on grass mowing, we spend a lot of money on grass mowing. We might talk to the other entities out here and find out how much grass we're really mowing and maybe do a better price, but that takes time. So I will get this guy contracted before he raises his rates. And he has every capability of raising his rates that everybody else has.
Any other discussion? So the motion was to continue a month at a time?
I'll approach him with that concept, see if he agrees.
All right. Any, did you have a second on it?
Second.
Matt, okay. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Nobody? Okay. Anything else, Tom?
No, sir.
Wow. Vice Chairman Forehand.
So the next two, even if it weren't like 9:15 at night, I would have still proposed that we punt these two items. Just to, what I'd like to do would be to email the group the 2 latest forms, including the 2 new trustees.
Yep.
Let's get the updated version, and with your permission, I'd like to move this up the pecking order some, so it doesn't always wind up at the end, kick to the next meeting.
Yep.
All right, cool. I'm
Very
good.
good.
That's all I've got.
So then, have all motions been completed as far as we know? All right, so new business. Any new business from the trustees? Proposal to adjourn the meeting?
So made.
One quick question. How are we gonna advertise our special meeting? Because we have to advertise it 7 days in advance.
It's procedurally, I thought it was spelled out as to how we do that. We have to put it in, whatever our normal meeting notice is, 7 days notice. If you've got it, if you don't, then you can shorten it, but we've got 7 days, so we need to go ahead and, have the secretary, announce it, and put it on the website.
Super easy to add meetings to the marquee out front. The marquee out front. I know what the letters are. You can also advertise them.
We need to do it in the paper too, though, right?
I thought we had to do it by today.
Yeah, I have it, but I can also.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. Good catch.
All right. What else? Motion to dismiss? Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.